The sun rose over Earth for the 10,000th time since the aliens arrived. Just another day in humanity's quiet existence as a minor species in the vast Galactic Confederation. Ships moved through the morning sky above New Washington, their sleek forms catching the light. Most belonged to the Volari trade fleet, blue-skinned merchants who controlled most commerce in this sector. John Carter watched from his apartment window, his admiral's uniform still fresh and crisp despite the early hour. Today would change everything. He touched the small device in his pocket, a simple quantum communicator that would send one message. Begin. His door chimed. Enter, he called, turning from the window. Lisa Martinez stepped into the room, her captain's uniform bearing the small insignia of Earth's token defense force. The Confederation allowed Earth to maintain exactly 50 patrol ships, enough to handle pirates and smugglers, but nothing that could threaten real Confederation vessels. They still don't suspect anything? John asked. Lisa shook her head. The Volari ambassador just filed his monthly report. According to our sources, they believe we have 47 active ships. They think 3 are in maintenance. John smiled. And the real number? 700,000, sir, all ready and waiting for your command. For 50 years, humanity had built in secret, hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt, construction facilities beneath the ice of Europa, massive factories inside the clouds of Jupiter. The aliens never noticed because they never really looked. Why would they? Humans were just clever pets to them, useful for manual labor and entertainment. The council meeting on Hexatron Prime begins in 2 hours, Lisa said. Ambassador Johnson is present. He'll deliver our final petition for full membership status, and they'll reject it as they have 12 times before. John replied, Yes, sir. Then we move to Phase 2. John turned back to the window. A Volari cruiser drifted overhead, its weapons ports visible. They never tried to hide them. Why would they? Earth was no threat. 50 years of rejection, John said quietly. 50 years of taking our resources, limiting our growth, treating us like children. The Confederation calls itself enlightened, but they've created a system of permanent inequality. Some species rule, others serve. That ends today, Lisa said. John checked the time. Get to your ship, Captain. The Defiance needs her commander. Lisa saluted and left. John touched his communicator one last time, then slipped it back into his pocket. In 1 hour, everything would change. On the far side of the moon, hidden beneath 20 miles of lunar rock, the largest shipyard in human history hummed with activity. The HSS Defiance sat at the center of the launch bay, a masterpiece of stolen and improved alien technology. Around it, hundreds of ships prepared for deployment. Lisa stepped onto the bridge and her crew stood at attention. At ease, she said, taking her command chair. Status report. Her first officer, Paul Garcia, stepped forward. All systems green, Captain. The fleet is ready. We're just waiting for the signal. Lisa nodded. And the alien patrols? 2 Volari. Cruisers in high Earth orbit. 1 Cronin battleship near Mars, all following standard patterns. They have no idea what's about to happen, Lisa said. Paul lowered his voice. Some of the crew are nervous, Captain. We're about to challenge the entire Confederation. They outnumber us in total ships, but not in this sector, Lisa replied, and not with ships of this quality. Remember, we've been studying their technology for a century, improving on it in ways they never imagined. The Defiance represented humanity's greatest achievement. Its quantum shields could withstand firepower that would destroy Confederation flagships. Its gravity weapons could disable enemy vessels without destroying them. Most importantly, its stealth systems made it invisible to standard Confederation scanners. On the main screen, Lisa watched as the final preparations were made. 700,000 ships. The aliens thought humans had 50. Her communication officer turned. Message from Admiral Carter, Captain. 1 word, begin. Lisa took a deep breath. Start the countdown. Alert all ships. Operation Thunderclap commences in 30 minutes. Across the solar system, in hidden bases and camouflaged shipyards, human crews received the same message. On Europa, Commander Steve Baker ordered his ice drilling machines to begin opening the massive launch doors. In the asteroid belt, Captain Karen Mitchell activated the quantum engines on 3,000 stealth fighters. Inside the cloud layers of Jupiter, Admiral Ben Morris prepared his gas mining platforms to reveal their true purpose: carriers for 20,000 warships. On Hexatron Prime, the gleaming capital of the Galactic Confederation, Ambassador Peter Johnson stood before the High Council. 6 alien species sat in elevated chairs looking down at him. They had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. "Esteemed counselors," Peter began, "I come before you to present Earth's petition for full membership status in the Galactic Confederation. For 100 years, humans have been faithful clients. We have provided resources, labor, and creative solutions to Confederation problems. We ask only for equal standing among the stars." The Volari counselor, his blue skin shimmering under the chamber lights, didn't even look up from his datapad. "Ambassador Johnson, we have reviewed your petition carefully. While we appreciate Earth's contributions, your species remains technologically and culturally underdeveloped for full membership. Perhaps in another 50 years, we can reconsider." "We have waited 50 years already," Peter replied, his voice steady. "What metrics must we meet? What standards have we failed to achieve?" The insectoid Cronin counselor chittered with amusement. "Your species still fights among itself. You lack the unified purpose that defines civilized worlds." "We have been unified for 30 years, Peter countered. "A mere moment in evolutionary terms," the Elohim counselor said, her crystalline form catching the light. "The council's decision is final. Earth remains a client state. This meeting is adjourned." Peter stood motionless as the counselors filed out. He checked his communicator. A single message waited. "It's time." Back in the Sol system, the moment arrived. Lisa Martinez gave the order every human captain had waited decades to hear. "All ships deploy. Operation Thunderclap is go." The surface of the moon seemed to ripple as massive doors opened. From Jupiter's clouds, warships emerged like wasps from a disturbed nest. The ice of Europa cracked as launch bays revealed themselves. Throughout the asteroid belt, stealth vessels disabled their cloaking devices. On Earth, millions of humans looked up as their sky filled with ships. Not alien vessels, but human ones. Ships built in secret, powered by technology the aliens thought humans couldn't understand. The Volari cruiser in Earth orbit detected the launches too late. By the time its sensors registered the threat, 500 human vessels surrounded it. "This is Captain Lisa Martinez of the Human Space Service. Your ship is surrounded. Power down your weapons and engines. You will not be harmed." Across the system, the same scene played out. Alien vessels found themselves surrounded by overwhelming human forces. Not a single shot was fired. They simply had no choice but to surrender. In his apartment, Admiral John Carter watched the sky fill with human ships. His communicator buzzed with reports from across the system. The Sol system was secured. Phase 1 of Operation Thunderclap was complete. He opened a channel to all ships. "This is Admiral Carter. The time for hiding is over. For a century we've been treated as lesser beings. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will accept nothing less than full equality among the stars. Launch the communication satellites. Let the Confederation hear our message." Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, the broadcasts began. The quantum-encrypted human communications network, which the Confederation had never detected, activated. On every screen, Admiral Carter's face appeared. "People of the Galactic Confederation, for 100 years, we have asked for equality. For 100 years, we have been denied. Today that ends. 700,000 human warships have deployed throughout our system. More wait in hidden shipyards across a dozen worlds. We do not seek war. We seek recognition. The era of second-class citizenship is over. Humanity has joined the galactic community as equals." On Hexatron Prime, the High Council watched in stunned silence as their screens filled with images of the human fleet. The Vorax ambassador, whose species had long advocated for harsher restrictions on humans, collapsed in shock. The galaxy fell quiet in horror. and humanity's true journey to the stars began. 3 days passed since the human fleet revealed itself. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On thousands of worlds, beings of all species watched footage of Earth's massive armada, 700,000 warships, each more advanced than standard Confederation vessels. On the Confederation capital of Hexatron Prime, emergency meetings continued without pause. The High Council chambers buzzed with angry voices and frightened whispers. "How did we miss this?" demanded the Volari counselor, his blue skin now pale with stress. 700,000 ships, built right under our monitoring stations. The insectoid Cronin representative clicked his mandibles in agitation. "We should strike immediately, gather our fleets and crush this human rebellion before it spreads." The crystalline Elohim counselor glowed with a soft red light that indicated deep concern. "Our military analysis suggests that would be unwise. The human ships display technology we've never seen before. They appear to have improved upon designs from at least 8 different Confederation species." "Impossible," the Volari counselor said. "Humans don't have the capacity to understand such advanced concepts." "Clearly we were wrong," the Elohim replied. In the corner of the chamber, Ambassador Peter Johnson sat quietly. None of the counselors had spoken to him since the revelation. They acted as if he might explode if addressed directly. His communicator vibrated. A message from Admiral Carter. "Phase 2 begins in 1 hour. Be ready." Peter stood and walked to the center of the chamber. The counselors fell silent, watching him with a mixture of fear and anger. "Esteemed representatives," Peter began, "I have been instructed to inform you that Admiral John Carter, Supreme Commander of the Human Defense Force, wishes to address the full council in 1 hour. He will arrive personally to discuss terms." "Terms?" The Cronin chittered in outrage. "Humans do not dictate terms to the Confederation," Peter smiled. "Things have changed, Counselor. I suggest you prepare yourselves." Back in the Sol system, Admiral Carter boarded his flagship, the HSS Constitution. Unlike the sleek, aggressive lines of the Defiance, the Constitution was designed for diplomacy. Its shape communicated strength without threatening violence. "Captain." Lisa Martinez stood at attention as the Admiral arrived on the bridge. "All systems ready, sir," she reported. "The jump calculations are complete. We can reach Hexatron Prime in 45 minutes. John nodded. "And the rest of the fleet?" "Phase 2 deployment is underway. 5,000 ships have already jumped to their assigned systems. The rest will follow over the next 12 hours. "Any resistance so far?" Lisa shook her head. "None, sir. Most Confederation worlds seem too shocked to respond. A few minor patrol vessels challenged our ships near the Cronin border worlds, but they backed down when surrounded." "And the special teams?" "All deployed according to plan. Engineer Ryan Phillips is leading the infrastructure team on Terrace III. Dr. Nancy Miller has arrived on the Zandi homeworld with medical supplies." John smiled. "Good. Let the galaxy see that our ships bring help, not just threats." He turned to the navigation officer. "Set course for Hexatron Prime. It's time the Confederation understood exactly what has changed." The Constitution's quantum drive engaged. Space folded around the massive ship, and it vanished from the Sol system. On the drought-stricken world of Terrace III, Ryan Phillips led a team of 50 human engineers across the cracked, dusty surface. For decades, the local Teresians had begged the Confederation for help. Their water purification systems, damaged in a meteor strike, couldn't support their population. The Confederation had deemed the repairs economically unfeasible. A group of Teresian elders approached, their skin gray from dehydration. They moved slowly, conserving energy in the harsh conditions. "Why have you come?" the lead elder asked. "More empty promises from the Confederation?" Ryan shook his head. "No promises, just action." He gestured behind him where human ships were landing. Crews unloaded equipment and supplies. "We've brought purification units, drilling equipment, and enough supplies to support your population while we fix your systems." The elder's eyes widened. But the Confederation said the repairs would take years and cost billions of credits. They would, using their methods, Ryan replied. We've developed more efficient approaches. We'll have clean water flowing within a week. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. On the Xandi homeworld, Dr. Nancy Miller distributed vaccines for a disease that had plagued the insectoid species for generations. The Confederation had deemed the Xandi too minor a species to warrant the research investment. On border worlds and space stations at trading posts and mining colonies, human ships arrived not with weapons firing, but with help and resources. On Hexatron Prime, the Constitution emerged from its quantum jump directly above the Council chambers. The massive ship, nearly a mile long, cast a shadow over the government district. Panic spread through the streets. Citizens of a dozen species ran for shelter, expecting an attack. But the human ship simply hovered, its weapon ports closed in the Council chamber. The representatives watched in stunned silence as the ship came to rest above them. A small shuttle detached from its belly and descended toward the landing pad. They bypass our defense grid as if it wasn't there, the Elohim counselor whispered. The Cronin representative clicked angrily. We should have bombed their planet when we first discovered them. Ambassador Peter Johnson stood. Shall we greet the Admiral properly, or would you prefer to continue discussing genocide in his presence? The shuttle landed smoothly. Its doors opened, and Admiral John Carter emerged, flanked by two officers. He wore a simple uniform with minimal decoration. No weapons were visible. The council chamber fell silent as John entered. He walked to the center of the room and looked up at the representative seated above him. My name is Admiral John Carter, of Earth, he said, his voice calm but firm. I come representing not just humanity, but every species that has suffered under the current structure of the Confederation. This is an outrage, the Cronin counselor chittered. Your ships violate our sovereign space. Your actions constitute rebellion. John smiled. It's only rebellion if we were ever truly part of your system. We never were. You took our resources, limited our growth, and denied us a voice. That wasn't membership. It was exploitation. What do you want? The Elohim asked, her crystalline form glowing with caution. A new beginning, John replied. As we speak, human ships are deploying throughout Confederation space. Not to attack, but to help. On Terrace III, we're rebuilding water systems you deemed unfeasible. On Xandi Prime, we're distributing vaccines you considered unnecessary. On 50 other worlds, we're sharing technology and resources you hoarded. He stepped forward. The Confederation claims to unite the galaxy, but it only truly serves the founding species. That ends today. We propose a galactic reformation, a true alliance of equals where all sentient species have a voice. Or else? The Valari counselor asked. John's expression hardened. We have 700,000 warships that can bypass your defenses as if they weren't there. We could destroy your military infrastructure without firing a shot. But that's not why we built our fleet. We built it so you would listen. He gestured toward the window, where the Constitution hovered. Today you have a choice. Continue the old ways and face the consequences, or join us in building something better. The galaxy watches counselors. What will your answer be? The chamber fell silent. The era of Confederation rule was ending. In its place, something new would rise. And humanity, once dismissed as primitives, would help shape it. The Confederation Council debated for 3 days after Admiral Carter delivered his ultimatum. Behind closed doors, the representatives argued, threatened, and finally began to accept the new reality. Humanity would not be ignored any longer. True. The 4th day, the Council announced they would consider humanity's proposal for a galactic reformation. It wasn't agreement, but it was a start. Admiral Carter established a temporary headquarters on Proxima Station, a neutral trading post at the edge of what had once been Confederation space. From there, he coordinated humanity's fleet deployment and diplomatic efforts. Captain Lisa Martinez entered his office with the latest reports. The Cronin are mobilizing their border fleets, sir. Intelligence suggests they're planning something. John looked up from his desk. Expected? The Cronin have been the Confederation's enforcers for millennia. They won't accept change easily. Should we move more ships to their sector? No. That would look like aggression. Let them make the first move. We'll respond appropriately. Lisa nodded. On better news, reports from our humanitarian missions are exceeding expectations. The water purification systems on Terrace III are operational. The Teresian elders have formally requested permanent alliance with Earth. John smiled. And the Zandi? Dr. Miller's vaccines have been distributed to 6 major population centers. Death rates are already dropping. The Zandi Queen has granted humans full trading rights and offered military cooperation. Good. The more allies we make, the harder it will be for the Confederation to maintain the old system. John stood and walked to the window overlooking the busy Proxima docks. Human ships moved alongside alien vessels. What about the smaller Confederation members, the ones who've been exploited almost as much as we were? 17 species have requested meetings. The Delvians and Centauri have already expressed support for the Reformation. John nodded. And Earth? How are our people handling all this? Mixed. Reactions. Pride in our achievement. Concern about potential war. Most support your approach of helping rather than conquering. Lisa hesitated. There are some who think we should take control of the Confederation by force. They say we've earned the right after a century of subjugation. That's exactly what we're fighting against, John replied firmly. If we simply replace the Confederation with human rule, nothing really changes. We need to build something better, something fair. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication. Admiral, we have reports of Cronin warships attacking the human colony on New Terra. Civilian casualties reported. John's expression hardened. So they've made their choice. Captain Martinez, prepare the response fleet. Remember our rules of engagement, disable, don't destroy. We want to prove we're different from them. Yes, sir. Lisa turned to leave, then paused. Sir, the Cronin don't value restraint. They'll see it as weakness. I'm counting on it, John replied. On New Terra, the human colony burned. Cronin bombardment had destroyed the main settlement's defensive shields and reduced many buildings to rubble. The colonists had retreated to underground shelters, but they couldn't hold out forever. Colony Governor Frank Wilson coordinated the evacuation efforts from the Emergency Command Center. Status on the orbital defenses? His security chief looked grim. Holding for now, but the Cronin brought 5 battlecruisers. Our shields will fail within hours. Any word from the fleet? Communications are being jammed. We can't get messages out. Frank looked at the frightened faces around him. Colonists who had built a life here now hiding underground as aliens bombarded their homes. We hold out as long as we can. Help will come. In orbit above New Terra, the Cronin fleet continued its assault. High Commander Vrax watched from his flagship with satisfaction. His mandibles clicked in amusement as another human defense platform exploded. The humans hide like vermin, he said to his officers. Where is their mighty fleet now? They spread themselves too thin trying to remake the galaxy. Now they will learn the price of challenging the natural order. His tactical officer approached. Commander, we're detecting quantum disturbances at the edge of the system. What kind of disturbances? Before the officer could answer, space seemed to fold in on itself. Suddenly, 30 human warships appeared, surrounding the Cronin fleet. Vrax hissed in surprise. How did they get past our early warning systems? Open fire, destroy them all. The Cronin ships launched a barrage of energy weapons and missiles, but the human vessels didn't return fire. Instead, they activated strange devices that created rippling fields around them. The Cronin weapons simply vanished into these fields, having no effect. On the bridge of the HSS Defender, Captain Frank Wilson watched calmly. Gravitational absorption fields holding, they can't hurt us. Orders, sir, his weapons officer asked. Target their weapon systems and engines only. Precision strikes. No crew casualties if we can avoid it. Frank studied the tactical display. Deploy the dampening drones. From the human ships, small unmanned craft swarmed toward the Cronin vessels. Each carried a device that, when attached to a ship's hull, disrupted its power systems. Within minutes, the Cronin ships began to lose power. Weapons went offline. Engines failed. Life support remained functional, but nothing else. On his flagship, Commander Vrax raged as systems shut down around him. "What is happening? How are they doing this?" His engineer looked terrified. "Unknown. Technology, Commander. They're disabling our ships without destroying them. This is impossible. Fight back." "We can't, sir. Weapons are offline. Engines are offline. We're dead in space." A communication request came through, the only system still working. Vrax hesitated, then accepted. Captain Wilson's face appeared on his screen. "Commander Vrax, this is Captain Wilson of the Human Defense Force. Your attack on a civilian colony violates all standards of warfare. Your fleet is now disabled." Vrax chittered angrily. "Kill us then. Show your true nature." Wilson shook his head. "That's not how we operate. Your life support systems remain functional. Your crew will survive. We will tow your vessels to neutral space and allow the Confederation to retrieve you. This is worse than death. You humiliate us. No, Commander, we show you mercy, something your people never showed us." Wilson's expression hardened. "Remember this day. Remember that we could have destroyed you but chose not to. That is the difference between us." The communication ended. Vrax stood in stunned silence as his mighty fleet hung powerless in space. On New Terra, the colonists emerged from their shelters to find the bombardment had stopped. In the sky above, they could see the disabled Cronin ships being towed away by human vessels. Governor Wilson stood among his people, watching. "They thought we would be like them, cruel, vengeful, destructive. They were wrong." An elderly colonist beside him nodded. "What happens now?" "Now the galaxy learns an important lesson. There is strength in compassion. There is power in restraint." He looked up at the stars, "And humanity proves we deserve our place among them." Across the galaxy, news of the Battle of New Terra spread rapidly. The story wasn't about human military might, but about what they chose not to do. They had the power to annihilate the Cronin fleet but chose to spare them instead. On Proxima Station, Admiral Carter received the reports with satisfaction. "And so the real message is delivered," he said quietly. "Not that we can fight, but that we choose when not to." News of the Battle of New Terra spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. The story was told and retold on 1,000 worlds, how humans had defeated the mighty Cronin fleet without causing a single death, how they had shown mercy when they could have destroyed their enemies. The Cronin Empire fell silent. Their leadership, once vocal about crushing the human rebellion, now refused all communication. The humiliation of their defeat was too great. On Earth, President Laura Davis addressed the United Earth Council. The Grand Chamber was packed with representatives from every nation, colony, and orbital habitat. "For a century, we prepared in secret," she said, her voice firm. "We built our ships, developed our technology, and waited for the right moment. Some asked why we didn't strike sooner, why we endured decades of Confederation rule." She paused, looking around the chamber. "The Battle of New Terra shows why. We needed to be not just stronger than our oppressors, but better. We needed to prove that humans deserve a place among the stars, not because we can destroy, but because we choose not to when given the chance." The chamber erupted in applause. Earth had united behind the patient strategy that was now bearing fruit. On Proxima Station, Admiral Carter hosted representatives from 30 former Confederation species. The meeting hall buzzed with excited conversation in a dozen languages. These were the overlooked species, the ones who, like humans, had been treated as second-class citizens in the galactic community. "The Confederation system is broken," John told them. "It was never designed for equality. The founding species created a structure that would keep them in power forever. But together, we can build something new, something fair." A small, green-skinned Delvian stood. "You speak of cooperation, Admiral, but it is human ships that now control key systems. Human technology that defeated the Cronin. Why should we trust that you won't simply replace the old masters with new human ones? John nodded. A fair question. Actions speak louder than words. He activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Currently, human ships are positioned throughout former Confederation space. But look at what they're doing. The display zoomed in on dozens of worlds. On each, human crews were helping local species, rebuilding infrastructure, providing medical aid, upgrading technology. We aren't conquering, we're helping. And more importantly, John touched a control, and the display shifted. We're leaving when asked. The hologram showed human ships departing several systems. 3 worlds have told us they don't want our help. We respected their wishes and withdrew immediately. We will never force our presence where it's not wanted. The Delvian looked skeptical. And if the Confederation attacks these worlds for supporting you, then we will defend them if they request it. Not as subjects, but as allies. John looked around the room. The choice must always be yours. That's the foundation of what we're building. On the former Confederation throne world of Hexatron Prime, the High Council was in crisis. The Cronin representative had withdrawn. The Volari were threatening to do the same. The entire system was collapsing. The Elohim counselor, her crystalline form glowing with stress, addressed her colleagues. We must accept reality. The old Confederation cannot stand. The humans have changed everything. So we surrender? The Volari counselor asked bitterly. Hand over a 10,000-year legacy to primitives? The humans defeated our strongest military force without casualties, the Elohim replied. They've gained the support of 17 former member species. They control key trade routes and resource centers. But they haven't used this power to destroy us. They're offering a partnership. Ambassador Peter Johnson sat quietly in the corner, observing. His presence was a constant reminder of how much had changed. Once, human ambassadors had begged for scraps of recognition. Now they held the future of the galaxy in their hands. The humans have proposed a reformed council, the Elohim continued. Equal representation for all sentient species, shared technology, mutual defense, protection for developing worlds. We lose our privileged position, the Volari protested. We gain a stable future, the Elohim countered. The choice is between change and destruction. The chamber fell silent as the representatives contemplated their limited options. Meanwhile, on the edge of explored space, Captain Lisa Martinez led a fleet of exploration vessels. The HSS Discovery, her new command, pushed into regions the Confederation had never bothered to map. Sensor readings on the 4th planet, Captain, her science officer reported. Oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere, liquid water, signs of pre-industrial civilization. Lisa studied the data. Under Confederation rules, what would happen to this world? They'd be classified as a resource planet. Mining operations would be established. The native species would be relocated or employed as labor. Lisa shook her head. Not anymore. Establish orbit, but maintain distance. No direct contact, we observe only. This world develops on its own terms. The science officer looked surprised. But the mineral readings show significant deposits of... It doesn't matter, Lisa interrupted. The Galactic Reformation begins with respecting the rights of all worlds, especially those who cannot yet defend themselves. She looked at the beautiful blue-green planet on her view screen. Log this system is protected under the First Contact Preservation Directive. No interference. Permitted. Back on Proxima Station, Admiral Carter received Lisa's report with approval. This was exactly the change humanity had fought for. Protection for developing worlds instead of exploitation. His communication officer interrupted his thoughts. Sir, message from Hexatron Prime. The High Council has reached a decision. They're accepting our proposal for reformation talks. John smiled. And so it begins. The real work starts now. On Earth, humans celebrated as news spread. President Davis addressed the world again. Today marks the true beginning of humanity's journey among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as architects of a more perfect union of worlds. Across the galaxy, ships that had once inspired fear now brought hope. The human fleet, built for war but dedicated to peace, had changed the course of galactic history without firing a single destructive shot. In his quiet moments, Admiral Carter reflected on the century of preparation, the patience it had taken to reach this point. Humanity had outthought its oppressors rather than simply outfighting them. They had built a better way forward rather than simply tearing down the old system. The galaxy, once quiet in horror at human power, now watched in wonder at human wisdom. 6 months after Operation Thunderclap began, representatives from every spacefaring civilization gathered on Earth. It was a historic moment, the first galactic summit ever held on human soil. The meeting took place in the Grand Unity Hall in Misatier, New Geneva. Once such an important gathering would have been held on Hexatron Prime or another Confederation capital world. That Earth was chosen sent a clear message about the changing balance of power. Admiral John Carter, now serving as Earth's chief diplomat, stood at the center of the hall. Around him sat beings from 100 different worlds. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that special environmental chambers had been built to accommodate them. "Welcome to Earth," John began. "A century ago, when the Confederation first discovered our world, we were deemed primitive. Today, we host the most important diplomatic summit in galactic history." He paused, looking around the hall. "But this isn't about human pride or human victory. This is about creating something that has never truly existed before. A galactic community of equals." Over the next week, the delegates worked tirelessly. They drafted and redrafted the Galactic Reformation Treaty. They argued about representation, resource sharing, technological exchange, and military cooperation. The former Confederation powers, the Elohim, Volari, and others, fought to maintain some of their privileges. The smaller species, emboldened by humanity's example, pushed for complete equality. Human diplomats worked as mediators, finding compromise where none seemed possible. Outside the formal meetings, relationships formed. Representatives who had once seen each other only as rivals or threats now shared meals, exchanged stories, and began to understand each other. On Terrace III, now fully recovered from its water crisis, Elder Nax watched the summit broadcasts with wonder. "Once we begged the Confederation for help and were ignored," he told his people. "Now we sit at the table where the galaxy's future is decided." On the Zandi homeworld, Queen Zixia mandated that recordings of the summit be played in every hive center. "Watch and learn," she instructed her people. "This is how a truly advanced civilization behaves, with cooperation rather than domination." Even on Cronin Prime, despite the military leadership's attempts to block the broadcasts, citizens gathered in secret to watch. The seed of change had been planted even there. Back on Earth, on the 7th day of the summit, the final text of the treaty was agreed upon. The hall fell silent as John Carter read the key provisions. "The Galactic Confederation is hereby dissolved. In its place, we establish the Galactic Alliance, a union of equals where each sentient species has one vote regardless of military power, technological advancement, or economic strength." There was a murmur of approval through the hall. "All technology will be shared for the common good. No species may withhold medical, environmental, or quality of life advancements from any other." The Volari representative shifted uncomfortably. His species had hoarded technology for millennia. "All developing worlds will be protected under the First Contact Preservation Directive. No interference is permitted until a species achieves interstellar travel on its own terms." The Elohim nodded in approval. They had always advocated for this approach but had been overruled in the old Confederation. Military power will be balanced through a system of mutual oversight. No species may maintain a fleet capable of threatening the alliance as a whole. This provision had been the most difficult to negotiate. It meant humanity would need to reduce its massive fleet, a point that had caused heated debate among Earth's leadership. And finally, a Council of Equals will govern the alliance with representatives serving limited terms and decisions requiring a 2/3 majority. As John finished reading, the hall erupted in applause. It wasn't perfect, no treaty could be, but it was a new beginning. One by one, the representatives came forward to sign. Some did so eagerly, others with clear reluctance. but all recognized the inevitability of change. When the signing was complete, John addressed the gathering one final time. Today marks not the end of our journey, but its true beginning. The treaty is just words on a page. It will be our actions that determine whether the Galactic Alliance succeeds where the Confederation failed. Across the Sol system, humanity's massive fleet began to transform. Shipyards that had once built warships now retrofitted them for exploration, scientific research, and humanitarian missions. On Jupiter's moon Europa, Lisa Martinez supervised the conversion of the HSS Defiance. Its weapon systems were being replaced with advanced sensors and research laboratories. "Having second thoughts, Captain?" her first officer asked, noting her expression as they watched the weapon mounts being removed. Lisa shook her head. "No. We built these ships to secure our place in the galaxy. Now we're using them to make that galaxy better. That was always the real mission." On Earth, President Laura Davis signed the official reduction orders. Over the next 5 years, the human fleet would decrease from 700,000 warships to 50,000. The rest would be converted for peaceful purposes or dismantled. "Are we making ourselves vulnerable?" a reporter asked during the press conference. Laura smiled. "The treaty protects all Alliance members equally. More importantly, we've shown the galaxy that true strength isn't about how many ships you have, but what you choose to do with them." 1 year after Operation Thunderclap, the galaxy had transformed. Trade routes once controlled by a few species now flowed freely. Technology once hoarded was being shared. Worlds once exploited were rebuilding. On the former Confederation throne world of Hexatron Prime, now just one voting member of the new alliance, human ambassador Greg Turner worked alongside representatives of 100 species. Together they crafted new laws protecting the rights of all sentient beings. "The greatest power," he told his colleagues, "isn't the ability to destroy. It's the wisdom to know when not to, and the courage to build something better instead." Across the stars, the ships that had once struck terror now brought hope. The humans who had been dismissed as primitives now served as mediators and peacemakers. Admiral John Carter stood on the observation deck of Proxima Station, looking out at the busy shipping lanes. Vessels of 100 designs moved peacefully, together. In the docking bay below, crews of different species worked side by side. "Was it worth it?" Peter Johnson asked, joining him at the window. The former ambassador had seen the whole journey, from humanity's subjugation to its triumph. John nodded. "Every moment of planning, every difficult decision, every ship we built in secret." He gestured at the peaceful scene below. "This is what we really wanted all along, not to rule the galaxy, but to help remake it." Peter smiled. "The galaxy fell, quiet in horror when our ships launched. Now it sings with the possibilities of what we can achieve together." And so began humanity's true place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as architects of a more perfect union of worlds.